Folks, ladies and gentle cars, my name is Farkle8000, and welcome back to the 2026 Diecast Competition Series Season Opener. Round number 1 is already complete. We have a total of 73 competitors advancing to round 2. I've been told that lines up to 19 races, which is 2 more than what we had last season. Last season, it was 17 races. And so I believe that confirms as well that we will have a top 2 and a round 5 once again. In terms of storylines, there's really not much. I mean, I guess I can show you who's advancing to round 2. Who's going to be racing here. Well, here you go. I think the biggest storyline is the fact that there's 4 New Yorkers who advanced to round number 2 out of 7. There are only 3 that did not advance, so I guess really the biggest storyline is where they end up. Does either any of them advance further than round 2 and put them in a terrible position, even worse than what they were in before? They've got to contend with the competitors I picked at the end of the last video, which I believe was Nerve Hammer. Definitely Lightning was in the mix. I think I mentioned Country just because of how smooth he was. And I think Carrera, Chomps, Elliott. And then ever since his win in the All-Star New Year's tournament, it's kind of hard to write off Mock since he's still in the competition. But that's essentially it. There's not really any storylines for me to really go over, other than the fact that there's 4 New Yorkers, so we're definitely going to be following them. So, I'm going to stop rambling so we can get to racing. We kick off round number 2, from right to left, with Minecart, Redliner, Skyline, and Lefty. And it looks to be a relatively even start. Maybe Lefty falling behind. A big bounce there for Skyline. They're 4 wide onto the flat. Minecart is the one who pulls ahead to get the win. How about that for him? Minecart has never really been that type of competitor who makes it far in competitions. I think his best career competition was his very first back in Crash Up Derby in 2020. Right here, he's advancing to round 3, the best start, and I think best run of his career. Minecart, what a run he's having right now. Next up, we've got Orange, California, Wallace, and Kurt. And it looks to be another relatively even start. 4 wide through the angle. California up on 2 wheels as Wallace and Orange fight for the finish line. It was a photo finish. Wallace will take the win. California will fall to last place. Just bounced all over the place through that angle. Got on the side of the track. I thought she was going to slow down Wallace, but Wallace keeps his composure and holds off Orange to advance to round 3. Next up, we've got Filtered, Drifts, Nutspend, and Pegasus. And it looks to be maybe Drifts with Pegasus, a slight lead early, bouncing there. And here comes Filtered, 4 wide as they cross the line. Between the outside lanes, they were closest. Pegasus will come home in second. Filtered will take the win. It was Filtered and Netspend beginning to fall behind early, and then through that angle, well, at least Filtered pulled forwards, drove to the front, as unfortunately Drifts faltered, falls to last place. Filtered beats out his sophomore NASCAR teammate Pegasus for the win. Next up, we've got Citron, Taxi, Harvick, and Ranger. And Taxi in lane number 2 is the first of 4 New Yorkers to have advanced to round 2. He has already put himself in a tough position right here, but being the first New Yorker to run in this round has their advantages, and Taxi right here needs to take advantage of this big time. He needs to not advance to round 2. Best case scenario is if he finishes last in this race. And it looks to be a relatively even start. Maybe Taxi in the lead, but now he bounces, rolls on his side. Ranger pulls to the lead, will beat Harvick across the line. And Taxi does everything he needs to do, did exactly what he did in the last round, which actually, now that I'm thinking about it, gets me a little bit worried for his diecast competition series future. If he constantly keeps flipping through that first angle, it's going to be tough for Taxi to consistently advance to round 2, which, starting so high up in the standings, he's going to have to do if he wants to truly stay in the series long term. But starts off the season not great, but he does what he needs to do in round 2. Ranger pulls off a relatively impressive win, actually. Beats Harvick to advance to round 3. Next up, we've got Rancher, Copo, Jordan, and EB. And it looks to be a relatively even start. Maybe EB and Copo pulling ahead. Copo bounces in the air. He's on the side of the track. They're 4 wide crossing the line. Copo flipping on his roof. So I don't think he got the win anyways. What? I was literally in the middle of saying I don't think he got the win because he was on his roof crossing the finish line, and then I switched to the next page to see Copo somehow wins the race. That is extremely impressive right there. Copo had a relatively rough season last year, kept constantly flipping through the transition last year. This year, he's flipping through that transition, but who cares if you're flipping? As long as you are winning, that really is all that matters. And Copo right here manages to do both in an impressive victory to advance him to round 3. Next up, we've got Quattro, Nighttime, Black, and Hull. And it looks to be maybe Hull a slight lead. Nighttime falling back. A big bounce there for Quattro. It's still Hull in the lead, bouncing there, and Black cannot close. And Quattro actually comes home in second place. An impressive drive for him. I thought he was out of it after he clipped the wall. Black looked to be the closest to him, but that's probably because Black was literally right next to him on the track. But Hull leads from start to finish. The sophomore beats out the other sophomore in this race in an impressive victory, a dominant victory at that, to advance to round 3. Next up, we've got Hamlin, Finish, Interstate, and York. And York in lane number 4 is the second New Yorker to have advanced to round number 2 in this competition. His goal is the exact same as Taxi's. Finish last in this race. Start as deep as you can. You've already dug yourself a hole. Do not dig it deeper. And it looks to be maybe York with a slight lead coming through the angle. He tips on 2 wheels. Now is on the side of the track. He falls to last. It's a fight for the finish. Between the NASCARs, Hamlin will take out the victory. Interstate will come home in second. Finish will come home in third. And York finishes 4th place, exactly like Taxi. That's what he needed to do as a racer. It sucks to finish last, but when you're a part of that New Yorkers tournament and you've advanced to round 2 in the very first competition, it's the best thing that you can do in order to attempt to save your season. With 2 more New Yorkers to go, I think York is in a decent spot right here, but it's definitely not ideal. I think if anything, looking at the last 2 races here with Taxi and York, they started with the lead, and throughout the rest of this season, if they can clean it up through that first angle, then they can seriously be threats to advance to round 2 in every single competition. York right here comes home in last, the best he could possibly do for his situation in the New Yorkers tournament. Hamlin holds off Interstate for the win. Next up, we've got Comic, Comscope, Nappa, and Fangs. And it looks to be a relatively even start, maybe Comic inching ahead a little bit. Wobble there, they're still 4 wide onto the flat. It's a photo finish. 4 wide. I think it was mostly between Comic and Comscope. It was, and Comscope is going to claim the victory. An incredible run right here for the NASCAR veteran right here. Comscope taking the win right here ahead of Comic. It looked like Comic had control throughout the majority of that race, but as the race went on, Comscope just slowly but surely reeled in. Comic struck at the last possible second for Comscope to advance to round 3. Next up, we've got Lightning, Beetle, Benz, and Nerve Hammer. And Benz in lane number 3 is the third New Yorker to have advanced to round 2 in this competition. I've already mentioned it twice. The goal for Benz in this race is to lose and finish last. And it looks to be a relatively even start. Maybe Benz falling behind a little bit. Now he flips on his roof. It's 3 wide at the front of the pack across the line. With Benz further back, I have no idea who won this race. Lightning takes the win ahead of Nerve Hammer. At the very start of this race, I said Benz was falling back. He was actually relatively even. I think it was Beetle who was falling back. Regardless, through that angle, Benz flips on his roof. That has been a very worrying common occurrence for the New Yorkers here. Constantly flipping on their roof through that first angle. I really hope that's a first competition thing to try and, lose these races to start as low as possible in the standings, but I'm not sure. I hope that doesn't persist as the season goes on. Lightning, I said his round 1 race was very, very impressive. Right here, he beats out Nerve Hammer, who has All-Star New Year's Tournament experience on this track. I mean, can it get any better for Lightning? I mean, this has been a very impressive competition thus far for him. Next up, we've got GM, Artie, Ethel, and Cheetah. And it looks to be a relatively even start. Now Cheetah beginning to pull ahead, bouncing there. Artie's on his roof. Cheetah still leading GM challenges at the finish line, but Cheetah will hold on to the victory. It looked like it was GM and Ethel beginning to kind of fall behind a little bit early through that angle. Artie flipped on his roof and Cheetah pulled ahead and then onto the flat. I really thought GM was going to catch Cheetah right there, but he does not. The sophomore Cheetah will advance to round 3. Next up, we've got Gibbs, Baseline, High Tech, and Flyer. And it looks to be a relatively even start. 4 wide through the angle, a slight wobble there. They're still 4 wide onto the flat. I think Baseline was able to pull ahead of Gibbs before the finish line. He was indeed. Baseline is going to just barely get the win. I think that was one of the tightest races we have had so far on this track. 4 wide from start to finish. Everyone was clean through the angle. I think the worst one through that angle is your winner of Baseline. Baseline wobbling just a little bit, but was able to pull ahead onto the flat, just barely getting the win ahead of Gibbs. Next up, we've got Otto, the Bug, 3, and Fishy. It looks like it's the Bug falling behind early. Otto and Fishy pulling to the lead. 3 on the side of the track. It's tight onto the flat. Otto will hold off. It looked like the Bug for the win. It is indeed. Fishy falls to last place. That is surprising to me as he started with the lead. And it didn't look like he wobbled at all. I guess he just lost speed as the track went on, and 3, even though she got on the side, was still able to pull into third. The Bug, who's fallen behind early, pulls into second place. but neither of them were able to catch Otto at the line. Next up, we've got Virtual, Roadster, Blue, and Country. And it looks to be a relatively even start through the angle. Blue now on his roof. It looks like Roadster ahead of Virtual will get the win. I think Country was just barely able to beat Blue at the line. He was indeed able to. Blue, unfortunately, flipping right here. If I remember correctly, he did the exact same thing in the last round. So Blue still having trouble getting through that kind of first angle part, even dating back to last year with the transition. At least he's competitive this season. I don't think we saw many times Blue advanced to round 2 last season. This year he did it in relatively convincing fashion. Speaking of convincing fashion, Roadster getting the win right there ahead of Virtual. Very smooth right there in this race to advance to round 3. Next up, we've got Lucas, Kohler, Patrol, and Money Lion. And Patrol in lane number 3 is the 4th New Yorker to have advanced to round 2 in this competition. And he wants to be the 4th New Yorker to also get eliminated in round number 2 of this competition. I feel like a broken record at this point. But Patrol wants to finish last in this race. And it looks to be maybe Patrol with a slight lead early. He bounces, flips on his roof, falls behind. The NASCAR's 3 wide across the line for the win. It's Lucas who pulls out the victory. A very, very tight finish right there amongst everyone who wanted to win this race. Patrol doing everything he could right there. Doing what we've seen multiple New Yorkers do really throughout this entire competition, is flip on their roof again. I really hope they're able to clean that up. But Patrol, I'm being told that Patrol will start 34th in points this season, which is definitely not ideal, but that's around the point where York started last season, and York is still racing this year, so maybe he can make something happen this year with a rough starting position on Patrol. Lucas gets the best finish out of all 3 NASCARs in this race. He gets the win and advances to round 3. Next up, we've got Pursuit, Miller, Drone, and Blitz. And it looks to be a relatively even start. Maybe Miller beginning to fall behind. A big bounce there for Drone. It's Pursuit and Blitz in the lead. Pursuit and Blitz in a photo finish. Pursuit will get the win. And it's Miller in second place? What? For the second or third time in this round, I'm sitting here wondering how on earth Miller came home in second place, because Miller was falling back. It looked like it was Blitz next to Pursuit, though, separated lanes. Maybe Blitz was further back than what it looked like and was actually even with Miller. I'm really not too sure, but regardless of who finishes second, one thing is for certain, Pursuit gets the win, practically led from flag to flag to advance to round 3. Next up, we've got Carrera, Ziegler, Chomps, and Type X. And it looks to be maybe Type X and Carrera with a slight lead, wobbling there. Chomps on the side of the track, Ziegler falling back, Carrera bounces to the win. And Chomps will save it to come home in second place. I have no idea what happened to Ziegler in that one. He just started to fall back. Not sure if he wanted to get out of the chaos or what. Chomps getting up on the side of the track into Type X. I'm sure Type X not entirely pleased with that. But with Carrera's big lead right there at the end, I'm really not too sure anyone properly would have caught her. That was the final 4-car race of this round. The rest of the races in this round are 3-car races. I believe there are 3 races remaining in this round. The first one contains a full race of sophomores. We've got Elliot, Shifter, and Mock. And it looks to be a relatively even start. Maybe Elliot pulling ahead a little bit. Shifter bounces right there. Mock falling back. Shifter challenging Elliot for the win, but Elliot will take the victory. And Mock finishes in last place. Man, after his winning the All-Star New Year's Tournament, I really thought he was going to come out and win this competition. And with the speed he showed in round number 1, I was very confident in that pick. Mock right here, though, falling back. Seems like the other competitors have caught up just a little bit as Elliot advances to round 3. There are 2 races to go in round 2 of the 2026 Diecast Competition Series season opener. There are 6 drivers remaining. All of them are rookies. So that is your warning now. So our first 3-car race, we've got E-Space, Cutlass, and Shazam. And it looks to be a relatively even start. Maybe Cutlass slightly in the lead, wobbling there. Shazam nearly flipped, wobbling more for Cutlass, though she'll hold on for the victory. Man, she was bouncing all over the track. She started with a slight lead and then basically veered to one side of the track and kept bouncing off the walls as the race went on. I'm impressed. No one was able to catch her, especially Shazam, because, like, you know, he's a superhero and everything. I guess he was too focused on trying to fly right there after the first angle that he just wasn't able to close. This is the final race of round number 2, and it contains Rally, Flash, and Tracker. And it looks to be a relatively even start. 3 wide through the angle. Flash on his roof. Tracker was off the track. Rally, I think, got the victory, though it was extremely tight. Rally, yes, does indeed get the win, just barely ahead of Tracker. Man, if Tracker hadn't gotten off the track right there, there's no doubt that Tracker would have won that race. Even getting off the track, he still made it interesting, though Rally able to hold on. And here is your top 19. We've got 4 races of 4 and 1 race of 3. Some extremely solid competitors advancing right here, and then several elite ones late in the round as well. I have no idea who's going to win this competition. As I mentioned, I had Mock as my pick, basically coming in to this competition after the All-Star New Year's Tournament, especially after his performance in round 1, and now he's not advancing. So who knows who wins this competition? I don't know. Lightning's been impressive. Maybe we could say him. Maybe Roadster, Pursuit, Carrera, Elliott. You know, some common names we've talked about in recent years. I'm really not too sure. I'm not going to do too much speculating. All the speculation is for the next video. Though I think my predictions are as good as throwing everyone's name in a hat or throwing them in a wheel and then picking them at random. It really is up in the air who could win the very first competition of 2026. And that does it for us today. If you don't want to miss the rest of this competition, subscribe down below. While you're at it, let me know who you think out of this group might win this competition. You got 19 very, very solid picks, so let me know who and maybe even why as well. We'll be back soon for rounds 3, 4, and 5, where we crown a winner and a points leader to start the 2026 season. And so, until then, until next time, my name is Farkle8000. and we'll see you later.